welcome back, and today I'm starting a new lecture series that's on law of taxation. Okay, so as usual, in this particular lecture series, or in this particular topic also, we have total 5 units, and the first unit talks about basics of taxation, and then followed by the second unit is of direct taxes, where we'll be studying income tax, and then the unit 3 and unit 4 deals with GST, indirect taxes. Okay, so unit 3 deals with GST and unit 4 also deals with GST, and then unit 5 deals with the customs. So we will be covering basic concepts here, and then direct income tax in a unit 2, and then GST, and then customs. Total this is a overall scope of my lecture series on law of taxation. Let's start our discussion with the basic concepts. What is tax? Okay, tax is a source of income, one of the source of income to the government, for a government. It is a source of income for a government, right? So who can levy tax? Only government can levy tax. So who empowers government to levy the tax? It is a constitution. Constitution has given power to the government for levying a tax. So no one like a common man like me can't levy the tax on others. It is only authority, the institution or organization which is having power. So government is having a power to levy the taxes. So basically the tax is a source of income to the government, and they will levy it because the constitution empowers government to levy the tax. So as I said, it is an important sources of revenue to the government. Okay, and it helps in raising a funds for development needs, right? So the person whoever earns income, he will be paying the tax to the government, and then government uses it for public benefits. That is what is understanding, right? Normally the high earning people will pay tax, and the government takes that amount and spends it for a public benefit like school, medical, infrastructure, etc. So I hope you guys are clear what is tax. There is one important aspect of a tax. What does it mean? So when a person pays a tax to a government, a person is here and he pays a tax to a government, and he will not expect anything in return from the government. This is the most important point. Whenever I pay for something, right, I expect something in return. When I go to a bookstore, when I pay cash for it, so then I expect a book from them. Or when I go to a grocery stores, when I pay something, so then I will expect a in return grocery, right? But when person pays a tax to a government, he will not expect anything in return from the government, but indirectly government spends that money on a public benefit. Clear, guys? Few points. Tax is a major revenue source for a government, and government levies tax because constitution empowers government to levy the tax, and when a person pays a tax, he will not expect anything in return from the government. Okay, now let's look into types of taxes. There are two types of taxes. One is a direct tax and the second one is indirect tax. What is direct tax and what is indirect tax? Take a small example, and then we'll come to know what actually the direct tax is and what is the indirect tax is. Here, a person earns income of 5 lakh rupees in a year, so he has to pay 10,000 tax. Okay, so a person is earning income of 5 lakh, so his tax liability is 10,000. So then the person, Mr. X, who is earning, right, it is his responsibility to go and deposit the tax to the government. Whose responsibility? The person who is earning, right? It is his responsibility to go and deposit tax to the government. So this kind of tax is called as direct taxes, where the tax is borne and paid by the person directly to the government. So Mr. X is earning some amount, and for that he has to make a payment of tax, and it is Mr. X's responsibility to go and deposit a tax into a government. So this is called as direct taxes. What are those direct taxes? The examples are income tax, gift tax, wealth tax. If a person's wealth is more than X amount, then he is liable to pay tax. If person is gifting some amount more than X, and again beyond his close family members. If a father is giving gift to a son, there is no gift tax. But if some person is giving tax to beyond the degree of relationship, then there is a tax. So then whoever gets, right, whoever is get benefited, they have to make payment to payment of tax to a government directly. So that is called as direct tax. Examples: income tax, gift tax, wealth tax. Okay, then moving to indirect tax. Indirect tax, take an example here. Mr. X goes to a shop and buys a TV. For that, here is a shop guy. He gives an invoice, right? The TV is for 1 lakh plus 18,000 tax, total 1,18,000. So shopkeeper gives an invoice, and then Mr. X pays 1,18,000 to a shopkeeper, and then shopkeeper gives a TV to him. Okay. Here, so the tax which is called as an indirect tax here, GST of 18,000, which is paid by Mr. X, will be paid to government by whom? This shopkeeper. Actual tax is paid by Mr. X, but it is collected by a shopkeeper, and then he will file his return with the government. So this is called as an indirect tax. It is not directly paid by the person on whom it is levied. Here the tax is levied on Mr. X, but he is not paying directly to the government, but it is paid indirectly through the medium of other person. So here he is paying it through shopkeeper, right? So this is called as indirect tax, where the tax liability is directly paid by the taxpayer. It is called as direct taxes, and where the tax liability paid through some mediator, it will be called as indirect taxes. The basic indirect taxes are, earlier in India we had VAT, excise, etc. Now it is GST, goods and service tax. Whenever we buy something or whenever we procure some services, there will be a GST to it. For whenever you buy insurance, you will be paying a GST. Whenever you buy some luxury goods, or whenever you buy car or whatever, so then you will be paying a GST. So that GST will be paid to government through some middleman. Okay, the person who is dealing in that particular goods and services is liable to pay. Clear, guys? So there are two types of taxes: direct taxes and indirect taxes. So indirect taxes, the tax is borne and paid by the person directly to the government, but in case of indirect taxes, it will be levied on some other person, but it will be paid indirectly through the medium of other persons. I hope you guys are clear what is tax and why government is levying a tax, what is the purpose of levying the tax, and then two different kinds of taxes: direct taxes and indirect taxes. Direct tax examples are income tax, gift tax, wealth tax, and indirect tax examples are VAT, excise, GST, customs, etc. Okay, so what are the fundamental principles relating to a tax laws? Whenever government makes a tax laws, right, because government is having power, they cannot do, like they can't make 50% as income tax or 80% as income tax, and then the GST of 25%, 30%, whatever, right? So they can't keep increasing it, or they can't make it. There will be some principles behind the levying the tax amount. The first principle is called as adequacy. The basic principle for a tax law is it is adequacy. Government, whenever they frame the policy, they take into consideration of expenses which is required for a public essential services, essential public services. Based on that, they will set up a tax rates, right? So if for the year, if we need X amount for a public essential services, and out of that, then they will see like what is the total income of a people, what are the number of income, and then what are the sales happening, what are the service procurements are happening. After considering all these things, they will try to map all the expense requirements, and with this, and that is called as an adequacy. Based on that, they will charge the tax. Broad basing. Broad basing means there will be like only 10 items will be taxed, rest all will not be taxed. Only high income people will be taxed, the rest all will not be taxed. So the tax burden should not be on only a few people, it should be spread across all. So always the basic principle is taxes should be spread over as wide as possible. It should not restrict, or it should not be only on few people of a community where they pay taxes. So it should be spread over as wide as possible. So it should reach to all the population. Every population should contribute towards government's plans, right? So they will try to see broad-based tax system. So adequacy, broad-based, and then compatibility. So why the government is going to levy the tax? It is to bring a, or to ensure a tax neutrality and to bring in a good governance, right? So it is the other principle is compatibility, which means taxes should be coordinated to ensure tax neutrality, and overall objective of a tax system is to provide a good governance. Then convenience. Whenever they make a tax laws and other thing, in theory they say that it should be more convenient, but in practical we are saying there is a lot of challenges with respect to IT filing and then GST, and people require all experts advice, opinion, and all these things. So but the other fundamental principle which theoretically which says is a convenience. Whenever taxes are planned, it should be so convenient and simple. The user should be easily payable the tax amount on his own with a simple calculation, but in reality it is not. Okay, and the next principle is earmarking. Whatever the amount, right, which government collects on the taxes, already like it will be, as I said earlier, it will be, they see the first whatever the expenses required, public expenses, and then they will plan for a tax. So every tax revenue, whatever the tax revenue they collect, that will be earmarked for certain expenses, and that should be used only for that. Correct? So whenever they say that they are collecting a education cess, and whatever is collected because for education cess, that should be used only for education related expenses. Whenever there is a earmarked for the tax revenue, then that expenses, that the revenue should be used to meet that particular public expenses. Efficiency. So whenever government, right, whenever they levy the tax, they also set up a proper mechanism to collect the taxes. The people should not evade the tax. People should not, like, if they fail to declare their income, or if they fail to pay the tax returns properly, right, to punish them, there will be a proper structure of tax collection will be set up by the government of India. So the efficiency of a tax collection should be always high. That is one of the fundamental principle. Equity. The basic purpose of tax is equity, right? Whenever the tax is raised, like high income people, the tax will be on a people who have a certain amount of income more than that, and they will take that tax and spread that among the poor, right? They use it for public utility. So the basic purpose of a tax collection is to bring equality in the society. Neutrality. Okay, so neutrality means the taxes should be levied equally across all the people, right? It should not be discriminated based on the region, caste, color, etc. So it will be completely based on income tax. Means it is always based on the income of a person, whether he is from whatever the region, whatever the caste, whatever it is. So it will be the tax should not favor any one particular group. So it will be favoring, or it will be affecting every person, every citizen of the country in the same manner. Predictability. So one of the important feature of tax is, like, it is always based on what is the major expenses and what is the revenue is, what are the income group and other thing. Based on that, they will collect the tax. So that the basic fundamental thing of a tax is the predictability. Government should be able to know how much tax they are going to collect it. It is not that government say we will collect 20% as an income tax, but they don't know like how much they are going to collect at the end of the year, right? So no, there is a proper predictability will be there. So to call it as a proper good tax system, there should be a predictability. Restricted exemptions. So whenever there is a tax, there will be some exemptions will be given to a person who is paying a tax. It is a restricted exemptions based on certain conditions. Why is these exemptions will be given? To promote savings, to promote investment habits, right? So whenever in India, like up to 1,50,000 is exempt, if they save in, if the individuals save amount in NSE, PPF, PF, like this, if they invest insurance, if they invest in all these things, then they will get an exemption of 1,50,000. What is the purpose? The purpose is to encourage savings. And then the simplicity, the tax assessment, whatever tax filing and all the process should be so simple that the user should not be afraid of doing all that activity. But in reality, again, though the fundamental principle says that it should be simple, but in reality there are multiple types of forms, multiple types of assessments. So every individual has to fill based on their income pattern. So it is not as simple as expected. Okay, so we saw a few fundamental principles behind the tax system. Now we will see the two important terms in a tax environment. One is tax avoidance and tax evasion. What is tax avoidance and what is tax evasion? Okay, first we will see what is tax avoidance and then we will talk about tax evasion. Okay, tax avoidance, let's see an example. If a person is earning 6 lakh rupees, say for example, there is a 10% income tax. So then what is the tax liability for him? 6 lakh at 10%, 60,000. It is a straightforward example. So it is this is the income and this is a tax rate. So what is the tax amount then? 60,000. So person has to pay 60,000. But law also says that if they invest 1,50,000 in savings, like NSE, National Savings Certificate, or insurance, or PPF, Public Provident Fund, etc. In that case, this 1,50,000 can be deducted from the income. Okay, so assume that Mr. X, who is drawing a 6 lakh, he invested 1,50,000 rupees in NSE, National Savings Certificate. Then his income is going to be 6 lakh minus 1,50,000. Okay, so now his taxable income comes down to 4,50,000. On top of this, there will be 10% tax will be levied, so it is 45,000. So instead of paying 60,000, now he is paying only 45,000. This is called as tax avoidance. Tax avoidance, is it illegal? No, it is not illegal. It is a legal, right? So government has given a provision for you to save the tax. If you are utilizing that in a legal way and you try to avoid the payment of a tax, then it is called as a tax avoidance. So tax avoidance is a legitimate minimization of a tax using methods included in the tax code. So whatever the rules and regulations given in a tax code, using that with the expert's opinion, if a person reduces his tax liability, it is called as tax avoidance. Clear? So tax avoidance is a legitimate action. The purpose is to reduce the tax liability. I hope you guys are clear what is tax avoidance. Tax avoidance is a legitimate action. It is illegal where person try to reduce his tax liability using the clauses of a tax law. Right? For example, saving of 1,50,000 will give tax deduction. At the same time, there is another one, 50,000 for national pension system. Okay, that is an additional. And then there is a medical insurance. So there are many other tax, or if they get agriculture income, then it is completely tax free. So like this, there are tax free incomes are there, and there are some exempted expenses are also there. All these things, utilizing the knowledge of an expert in that area and reducing the tax liability is called as tax avoidance, and it is legitimate. Then what is tax evasion? What is tax evasion? Mr. A, who is earning 25 lakhs income, and he says that his income is only 10 lakhs. So he is cheating here, like it is illegal. So tax evasion is illegal. By reporting a wrong numbers, person try to avoid the tax. Then it is called as a tax evasion. Right? In case of avoidance, he was legal. He was reducing his liability because of the clauses. But here it is not like that. He is intentionally saying a wrong number to a government, and then he is evading a taxes. So it is called as a tax evasion. So tax evasion is a punishable offense, and government when a tax authority can review your tax statements and question anything if it is looking false to them. So tax evasion is illegal and not supported. So tax avoidance is okay because it is a legal one and it reduces the tax liability in a legal way. Tax evasion is a illegal one and not supported. There are two important terms which we will discuss now: tax planning and tax management. What is tax planning and what is tax management? These are the two important terms. So tax planning and tax management. Okay, tax planning is a broader term. This is also covers tax management also. So tax planning is a broader. It includes everything: how much I am going to pay tax, how to reduce my liability, when I am going to pay the tax, all the aspects of a tax, right? It will be part of a tax planning. Okay, what will be my next 1 year income, how much I can reduce it in a legal way, and when I have to make a payment of this. This is all called as a tax planning. So we are planning in advance, including how I am going to, tax management talks about how I am going to pay it. Right? There is a procedure or a process to be followed in an Income Tax Act for paying the taxes, right? So all those rules and everything will come under tax management, but tax planning is a broader, which includes the tax management and also how to reduce my tax liability. These are the difference between tax planning and tax management. Okay, tax management is to comply with the provisions of a income tax laws. Tax planning includes tax management, as I told, and tax management majorly deals with the filing of a return, making the payments, TDS, all the procedural aspect of a tax. Tax planning relates to the future. So always, right, I will be doing a planning for my next year or a current year income, not for the previous year. Whatever has happened already is done. So we have to do it, but tax planning is always for future. But tax management is for past, or it is for present, or it is the future. As per the law, whatever they say, right, we have to make sometimes advance taxes, sometimes we have to file a return of the last year. So whatever, right, it can be a previous year or present year or a future year. So it includes everything. When we say past is like, okay, already you have filed the return, but there is some conflicts, then it comes to a past. So what is the present? The current year income, you have to file it, the return and other things, so then it is a present year. For the next year income, you have to make a advance tax payments, so for that it is called as a future. So all these things is covered under the tax management, but tax planning is basically for a future. And what is that we are going to achieve with the tax planning? With the tax planning, we are going to reduce our tax liability in short term and in long term. Tax management helps in the process of completing the tax filing. Tax planning is optional. If you have money, you can go and pay all the tax amount and other things. So tax planning is optional, but tax management is essential. Right? You may not to get a benefit of a tax benefits and other thing here without tax planning, but tax management is a must. You have to file return, you have to file all the information, you have to pay advance taxes, all these things as per the law you have to do it. So tax management is important. So in the tax laws we are going to discuss more on a tax management. What are things to be done for filing of income tax, what are the exemptions available, what are the tax free income, so that we will be covering. Guys, you are clear with the terms tax planning and tax management. Let's see three important terms here: tax, fee and cess. What are the difference? So we know tax is a legally government which collects the money for the purpose of spending on a public expenses. Right, it is a source of revenue for the government. This is a clear. So taxes will be levied on income, which is called as an income tax or a direct tax, and then if it is levied on a goods and services, it is called as an indirect tax, which is goods and service tax. So you guys are clear what is tax is. Then what is cess? And then finally we will talk about fees. So what is cess? Cess is a term which is called as, cess is nothing but a tax on tax. Okay. So take an example. We have a tax of person's income is 6 lakh. So 10% is a income tax. So what is the tax amount? 60,000. 10% of 6 lakh. So there is a separate slab for each of the incomes. Okay, we will discuss later, but for an example purpose, you consider that 10% as a tax. So 60,000 is a income tax. On top of this is a tax, right? On top of this, government sometimes charges some cess, 5% on tax. So 60,000 on 5% is 3,000. So total tax payable by a person is 63,000. This is tax, and this 3,000 tax on tax is called as a cess. Okay. So in India, tax on tax is called as cess. Means once we calculate a tax liability, whatever the tax liability comes, the tax amount, on top of that, the additional tax which government is going to charge is called as cess tax. So in India, we have education cess. Okay, which is always like they will be charging it on tax liability of a individual. So cess is a tax on tax. Okay, so the word cess being used in different countries in a different way, but in India it is used as tax on tax. Say some examples are here. In Ireland, cess is nothing but a tax. For a tax itself, they call it as a cess. While in Scotland, the property tax will be called as a cess. And in Thailand, it refers to a rubber export tax. But in India, it is refers to a tax on tax. Okay. So we have given an example of education cess here, which is a tax on tax. Okay. And finally, what is fees? Fees is very simple. Whenever somebody does some services, they will charge for it. You go to a RTO office, you need a license LLR. So they say that 1000 rupees is a fees. So you need service. For that service, if somebody charges something, then it is called as a fees. Right? You go to you go to a college for education, right? And then they will ask for a education fees, exam fees. All these things are a fees. So whenever you get something and for that people are going to charge, that will be called as a fees. And it is always legal. It is because of some services you obtain from them, they are going to charge for it. Tax, they will not be getting any benefit, but still you have to make a payment. Cess, again, here also you will not get any benefit. This is again on a tax on a tax. Cess is a tax. Fees is something for which you get a service and then you make a payment for it. Okay, this is a key difference between tax, fees and cess. Tax is a source of income to the government. Person will pay it without any without getting any return. Cess is a tax on the tax. When the tax liability is calculated, on top of that certain percentage will be charged as a cess, and that will be used for some specific purposes. In India we have education cess. And then fees is for something which if a person obtains some services, then he makes a payment. So that will be called as fees. Okay, so we will see some constitutional provisions and okay, what is the constitution says about taxes, or whenever taxes tax laws are formed, legislators must be aware of these these articles of an Indian constitution. So tax is always be levied by government because in the article 265, right, in article 265 it clearly states that in article 265 clearly states that no tax shall be levied or collected except by authority of a law. So no other person shall be able to collect the tax other than who is empowered to do it. We know there are list 1, list 2 and 3, list 3, right? One is state list, sorry, central list, state list and concurrent list. Based on this, government, central government and state government and or central government can levy taxes to an individual. Okay, so we know this list 1, list 2, list 3 in an Indian constitution. So whatever the items which are mentioned in central list, the central government can work on it, and then list 2, state government can work on it. List 3, the central government will be working in concurrence with state government. So this is how the taxation power is empowered with the government, appropriate government. So there are few conditions which all tax laws also should adhere to. One is it must not contravene to Article 13. What Article 13 says? No law should be made with a retrospective effect. The same way any income tax act or income tax laws will be done or a GST will be done, it will be for the future date, no retrospective. Okay, so they cannot say that income of last 10 years will be taxed this time. No. So anything, it should not be contravened to Article 13, which means no law should be made with a retrospective effect. Everything will be from current date. It must not deny equal protection of the law. Okay, so as we said, Article 14 talks about equality. Everybody is same in front of a law, right? So the same way, whatever the taxation laws will be done, it must be provide equal protection to everyone. So it cannot say that only certain community will be paid tax or other things. So it is everybody is equal in front of law. And Article 19 says that anybody can do any business, right? It should not, the income tax law or GST law should not put unreasonable restrictions upon the right of doing a business. So unnecessary, they cannot say that for this particular item, if you are dealing with the gold, it is 85% tax or something. So some unreasonable restrictions should not be put. A system should promote Article 19's viewpoint where any person can do any business freely. And according to Article 27, whenever there is some income which arises out of this religious or a religious temple and other places, right, those will be exempted from tax. So the religious matter is kept separately. So So it will be a separate matter and people will be opening a trust there, and then it comes under the trust administration, and all the amount should be utilized for the promotion of the religious activities. So then there will not be any tax for this. And it is a duty of a central government might have offices in any state, right? So central government, they may office in Karnataka, for example, they may office in Telangana or in Madhya Pradesh, correct? So these states should not levy any taxes for the central government. Remember, a state legislature or any authority within the state cannot tax the properties of the union. This is another restrictions in a constitution under Article 285. At the same time, a union cannot tax the properties of a income of a state. Any income of a government, central state government, it should not be taxed. Where it is mentioned? It is mentioned in Article 289. Okay, and there are few more constitutional articles which will impact on the tax structure in a country. The next one is whatever state charges, right? A state which is going to charge on a taxes, it will be subject to Article 286, and no state shall put a tax on consumption of electricity, which is as part of Article 287. And then imposition of tax should not impede the free flow of trade, commerce and intercourse under Article 301. See, there when we say India as a one country, right, goods will be moving from one state to other state. If there is a lot of restriction from state 1 to state 2 and state 3 movement, then it is very difficult. Like if a good is moving from Delhi to Kanyakumari, it will be passing through almost 10 states. There will be a lot of challenges. So any tax system should not affect this kind of a free flow of a goods. And finally, the levy of tax must not offend Article 304A. What is Article 304A says? See, if we have a two states here, one is Karnataka and then we have Tamil Nadu next to it. Okay. If goods is, whether it is coming from Karnataka or it is manufactured in Tamil Nadu, it should be treated as a same, right? It should not be treated as it is from a foreign country or something. The same way, if a goods is coming to Tamil Nadu and it is or somebody is manufacturing, it is the same treatment for it. It is not an import of goods or something, it is within the same country. So they should not be offend the Article 304A. We should not treat these two are different products altogether. So in this way, before levying the tax, whatever the provisions or articles we discuss, right, the legislators must be aware of this, and then they have to pass the taxation laws. That's all, guys, from an income tax from a tax overview perspective. What all we discuss what is tax, types of taxes, direct and indirect taxes, and then we touched upon fundamental principles of a tax. There are around 10 fundamental principles which we discussed, and then followed by we talked what is a tax evasion and what is a tax avoidance, what is a tax planning and what is a tax management, and then difference between tax, cess and fees. Finally, we ended quoting few constitutional articles which legislature has to remember while passing a laws on taxation. That's all, guys. Thank you very much. If you have any queries, please put your questions in drop box below.